This talk show do not reflect the management and staff of 102.7 FM, The Riddim.
Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Hey, that's right! I stand! It's the hey! Hey! You can't stop change! On the other hand, one of the waste days of our life is everything changes, even good things. We stress out on many things that we can't control. It makes us lose our bearings, forget the goal. We can't change the weather, the future, no people's minds, but yet we focus on them all the time. We must accept the things that we cannot change. Try to stop pointing fingers at us and the blame. Courage is needed to fix what we can. Use wisdom to know the difference, be a better man. Cause it is what it is, ain't nothing you can do. Yes, it is what it is, don't let it bother you. Man, it is what it is, some things you can't control. Yes, it is what it is, just give it your heart and soul. Sing! Oh yeah! Let's go! Let's rock! I stand! It's all right. So much time, we wish we had more. Just go to the gas station or anything store. Discouraged and angry when we see a bill. Feels like we live in life.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. C. Allen Johnson here, sitting in for the Darren Cooper. It is what it is. So what we're doing today is we're going to talk about the Grand Bahama economy and what it takes for us to get going. And that's important because we talked a lot of things over the last couple of days, but it's more important for us to get to the economics. But before we get to the economics, I need us to be able to know, not before we get to the other things, but the economics is that economics, money solves problems, money solves everything. There's a lot of people hurting in our community, and the goal is to be able to basically find a means individually and collectively for us to build our personal economies. But one of the important things that we need is we need to understand the infrastructure that is needed upon which the foundation to build. That is like medical, fire engine, police, schools, hospitals, those type of things. And we often hear what is called soundbite announcements about soon, very soon, tomorrow, the day after, prepare yourself, whatever. So before we begin, let's begin with a word of prayer. God, give us compassion for those going through hardship. Give us the ability to practice patience and quiet excellence. Let results speak louder than our noise. As reflection, we could look at 1 Thessalonians 4:11-12. Thank you so much. Let's talk. One of the things that I saw happening, and I read social media, I listen to social listening, and because I'm in the digital space, there's so much going on. In fact, I would say it'd be easy for somebody to call me and tell me what is actually working. In fact, you can do that, 688-1027, 688-1027, to call me to tell me what actually works in our country, what actually works on Grand Bahama. Because it seems as though we continuously have announcements, and we have ministers that actually react as opposed to respond to our conditions. There's always this is not our policy. We see the problem. We're working on it. It's always they come and pacify us with some form of statement as if though it's a solution. And that has happened so much that we have now to the point of what we can now call fire hosing. We have get so much information daily from the multiple ministries. We got 29 ministers that speak almost every other day. There's one of them saying it isn't happening. The police is failing over here. They come and say they're fixing it. This is working. The hospital is being flooded on New Providence. They say it isn't the roof, and it is the roof, but we're fixing the roof, but the water came from outside, even though it's raining. The water on the outside came from the rain, but they said it didn't come to the roof, but we are addressing the problems with the roof, and we've moved the people, etc., etc. So the same aspect of the Rand Memorial Hospital. We keep calling that place a hospital, but the truth of the matter is that was and will always be an expanded clinic. It's a clinic. It's not a hospital. It's a clinic. I don't care how much shantytown rooms you add to the Rand Memorial Hospital, it will always be a clinic. And so we seem to master in linguistic gymnastic or verbal contortionism from our leadership, and you can never get an answer. Like, if there is a problem, the Rand Memorial Hospital, for the decades that we've been hearing that it's fixed, it's going to be fixed, and then they say Hurricane Dorian gave them some issues, and they said they're going to build a 2-story building. And when you look around Grand Bahama, there is sufficient locations for a hospital to be built. And we hear things such as, we were initially looking for location on a high point that's away from flooding. Well, nowhere in the Bahamas is away from flooding if you actually buy into the global warming type environment, or we have seen what has happened with the Dorian, with Dorian. Now, Freeport could very easily say at least 50%, maybe a little more, was flooded. And that was because Freeport itself did not take the absolute direct hit. Part of Freeport did, the east part of it, but when we look at the fact that that it was the storm did come, it did sit over us, etc. But the impact of the water tiding and everything is something we have to consider. And so when we talk about developing a country, or we developing a city, or we developing an island, all of these things have to be taken into consideration. We should be having conversation concerning a gap analysis. We should be having conversation with cost analysis, time analysis, and for systems that we say that we have in place, there's something called an effectiveness analysis that answers a lot of questions for us that we somehow seem to want to avoid. And one of the things about why we avoid these things is because the truth is very uncomfortable, it's very painful. And so if you think with the pain and the anger and the frustration that you're feeling now just from hearing about the RAN, hearing about our schools, hearing about our police force and our nurses and our teachers and these different things, imagine the pain you would feel if they actually tells you the truth. It's worse than the lies, the comforting lies. So what we have to do is we have to begin to be willing to embrace the truth. It says that you cannot manage what you cannot measure, and you cannot measure what you refuse to acknowledge. And we are in a position where we have refused to acknowledge our fate in this country, more so, especially for Grand Bahamas, because we are Grand Bahamians. I'm speaking to Grand Bahamians for the last 25 years. But overall, as a country, we have not acknowledged that we are failing, if not failed, in many aspects of it. And so the easiest thing to do, if any one of you know it, especially the Progressive Liberal Party supporters, I'd like for you to call in and let's have a conversation. Name one system, one institution, one something that functions the way it should in the 21st century. Just one. Maybe two, maybe three. So when you consider that you have 29 different ministries and multiple departments and functions under each of those, yeah, please, I can't find one. Maybe you can tell me find one. Because you can't even die because there's no morgue to put your body in. So even in death, you can't experience anything that functions as simple as retrieving your body and taking you there. The process is that this concept of this clinic and this hospital that we keep calling Rand Memorial Hospital, and this idea that they keep saying that they're building this health campus, these private type environment. They said it here for the last, remember now, we've been hearing about this health campus for 4 years. And no one, they can give you the updates and they can give you the announcement. I have flown my drone over that property for the last 4 years. And that property has not progressed in the last 2.5, maybe 3 years. Maybe, if you want to argue, 2 years. It has not moved. It has not done any progress in any respect. The Rand Memorial Hospital came out with a lot of promise. You can get a morgue. I mean, these are things that was campaigning on in 2021 and again in 2026. But the question is, have anyone released a comprehensive plan that actually explains to us how these things will be resolved? No, they haven't. Because I submit to you, there is no plan for resolution of the issues we are facing as a country, we're facing as an island, and we're facing as a city. If it was, I bet you it would be praised and sing and shared by the fanatics and the trolls and whatever else. And so the easiest thing to do is to shed those in opposition to you is to just release the comprehensive plan. What is the actual plan for the RAN? Every time something goes wrong with the RAN, we hear Dr. Darvel. Those of us from Grand Bahama knows Dr. Darvel very intimately. So in New Providence, he gets to sell them a story about us. And it's not. And I'm talking about Dr. Darvel, the minister, not Dr. Darvel, the doctor, because he was one of the people that whenever I was sick or I needed a health issue, he was one of those people that I sought out. Okay, before I went to the RAN, before anything. So I'm not talking about him as the doctor. I'm talking about him as the minister. I'm talking about him as the MP. Those in Grand Bahama knew Dr. Darvel as ducking Darvel. He ducked his constituents. He ducked his responsibility as the minister for Grand Bahama. And he is duplicating it again from a distance. And it's a fact. And so the minister Darvel, Minister Ducking Darvel, has avoided addressing the issues that face Grand Bahama. He still implies that Grand Bahama is his home. If the RAN Center is here or the 8 Mile Rock Clinics is there, these are simple examples, or the health campus, simple examples for him to show the country. See, if you guys look at Grand Bahama and look what I've done there, here's what I will do in New Providence. But just like you have the health campus here, they're building another health campus in New Providence. And for those of you who are very familiar with the U.S. Embassy putting the tariffs on the Bahamas, rest assured that is concerning the new hospital that's being built on New Providence, concerning the Chinese forced labor. You know what they said for forced labor? What people don't understand is when you put that in context, let me just a sidebar. They're imposing a 12.5% tariff penalty on goods and services coming from the Bahamas. And we have to understand that a tariff is a penalty that's paid by the people in the country for which imposes the tariff to make sure that they don't consume it. But the reason they said is that we have forced labor in our products and our service. Now, people go, well, see, Alan, how does the tariffs apply to the clinic, to the new hospital, the specialty hospital being built on New Providence? Very easily. The specialty hospital is designed to serve not just Bahamians, but individuals outside of the country. That makes it an export. Okay? That makes it an export. What saves us on another aspect of our export is the fact that our tourism is a major export. We export the tourism service, hospitality. That's an export. But it's something that is tangible that we deliver here, even though we service it to people outside of the Bahamas. But for the lobster and the other individuals that export particular things, even if they have a value-added service in the Bahamas, they will have a 12.5% tax paid added to whatever they take into the United States. And so we have to be aware of the world that we live in. And so because we have not developed the country in such a way that we could not have to depend on handouts and hand-ups and deals that is not productive to the development of the Bahamas, then we could have where we want. You know, there's so much I could say, and I know a lot of people would say I'm being political. How is discussing the governance of the country political? Well, it is, but how is it anti-PLP? We have the government of the Bahamas borrowed $700 million and put it into an infrastructure fund that no one has been able to account for. And in fact, I am of the position, as with others, that that move is illegal because it has not been approved by Parliament. A board has not been established, or special entities. None of the things have been established. But the $700 million has disappeared somewhere in limbo. Nobody can give account for it. But just look at the $700 million. If we could take $700 million to put in what is called an infrastructure account that nobody can account for in a matter of weeks and months, could we not simply have paid for the hospital? Can we not finish the specialty hospital here in Grand Bahama, or upgrade the clinic? Stop calling it a Riddim. See, changing a name doesn't change the thing it is. We changed the Antonio Clinic, I think that was the name, or whoever it is that built it, into the Rand Memorial Hospital. Did it change what it was? No, it hasn't. The name has been changed. You could give an apple a whole nother name. It doesn't change the fact that it is an apple. And the Rand Memorial Hospital is a disgrace for a city that said it's the premier, the first of examples that's coming true. Call us. You can give me a call, 688-1027. Talk about it. Give me some insights on what's happening in the Rand Memorial Hospital that you know that's going on. And so that I can tell you the simplest path for which we can agitate to solve those. 688-1027. And so, or whatever other subject you want to talk about, because we want to talk about the economy. So, but when you look at the Rand Memorial Hospital, and it takes about 2 years, maybe 3 years to fully build a functional hospital. We have not done so yet. The United States government has said in the response to the specialty hospital being in New Providence, the new administration would love to have a conversation about our medical needs in the Bahamas and give us preferential rates for the development of our healthcare system. They didn't say a hospital in New Providence or Grand Bahama. They said our healthcare system, which includes the hospitals and clinics we need on Grand Bahama, the other family of islands, as well as New Providence. But we have a pushback from our government who simply say, we already made a decision on the hospital in New Providence. But if we listen to what has been said by the U.S. Embassy, they did not limit it to that hospital, but the government itself, as part of their pushback, this is where the linguistic contortionism and lyrical gymnastics come in, that they say, oh, we have done this. And then people start saying, oh, the talking heads and the trolls and the fanatics then spend all of their time saturating the social media. The social media already is 60% of social media is already bots, already automated machines. It's not real people. And the other 40% is probably 50% trolls, fanatics, and talking heads who's trying to push a narrative that if they repeat a mistruth, a misinformation to you long enough, you will start to believe it or shut down. Half the truth is a full lie. Half the truth is a full lie. And so when you look at the Rand Memorial Hospital, we have to ask ourselves, let's go to this development of the island of Grand Bahama. We talk about the airport. In today's paper, or in the Nassau Guardian and the Tribune, they talk about the delay of the hospital. So here it is that not the hospital, the hotel and the airport. So let's look at that in context. If you are to build a thriving city, and this pulls the Grand Bahama Port Authority into this conversation, and Mr. Ian Roll and Ms. Haywood, as well as the St. George's, we have to find that they are lacking in what has happened in this city. They are not responsible for this island. They're responsible for the city of Freeport. And the island as a whole is our government, the ones that we elected. But when you talk about the development of a city, which we have talked for a long time, and I don't know if many of you even remember the Reef paper that the Grand Bahama Port Authority commissioned and produced during the COVID era of 2020, and no one has heard about that anymore. In fact, I picked it up and read it last week as part of this conversation concerning our mining on the island to see what was the strengths of their argument for the economic development of Freeport, for the mere fact that this was supposed to be a blueprint for going forward. I also took a visit to the Blue Action Lab, their original concept note for what they were supposed to be in regards to development the blue economy on Grand Bahama. And so we get to see that it's a lot of announcement. But let's talk about this development of the city. A city to be developed has to have the proper infrastructure. That infrastructure includes hospital, fire services, police, sanitation, water, and energy, and an education plantation. Let's look at what we have. We don't have any of those that functions in the concept of the 21st century. Would we have a patch and go? We don't have fire services. It will be lucky if we have enough people with buckets to show up, to pass buckets to throw on any of our houses. And I know I hear so many of you go on and run on about if the foreign investor could come and do this and do that when they come. Well, the foreign investor coming for your money. And so the question you have to ask yourself, what are you doing to build your economy, to build your whatever it is, rather than waiting for some foreign investor? Caller, you're on the air.
Morning, Seattle. How you doing?
All right.
But why they don't take that $700 million really up high and put it into Nassau Hospital with the building and to the airport, what on Grandmama? What they doing with that $700 million? Why we can't have an idea what's going on?
Well, you have to make the demand. We don't know. Many of us have been demanding. We're trying to find out, is it in somebody's personal account or is it in some special bank? We are trying to find out, and we want to know exactly what it's for. More so for the fact that it's designated for family island development or something of that respect. So you could take Nassau off the word. Oh, by the way, let me just correct you people. Nassau is a city on the island of New Providence. Nobody goes. No, so, but we don't know where the money is. They have not answered the question. There seems to be a period of darkness in governance that has seemed to have taken over our country. We can't find anything. Chances are most of us will see God seemingly before we get the truth from this administration.
We can't let these fellas get it because this sounds like a serious thing, man.
It is. But guess what happens though? For those of you who wants to know the email address of every single MP, or not MP, every single minister in government. We have 29 of them and 3 senators. Here's what you do. Their first name, their last name as one word. First name and last name as one word at bahamas.gov.bs. So if you want Leon Lundy, you go Leon Lundy at bahamas.gov.bs. Ginger Moxie at bahamas.gov.bs. Philip Davis at bahamas.gov.bs. Every single minister and senators who serve in the cabinet, they have an email address. Call them.
We need them at the parliament when they open up.
Well, the power is a public demonstration can also, you're in a new digital age, right? And this is where you have to put your name, the pen and paper, or to an email, or to even a text, and have it go to a central location. When they know there's sufficient enough of us, because let's say for Grand Bahama, there's a very slight odd that we're going to get 10,000, 5,000, 2,000, 3,000 people in the front of the office of the Prime Minister. However, we could get, if we actually state what it is, we just can't say we're angry at government, we're upset at the government, we're upset that they're not doing this. We have to be very specific in what is it we're trying to address, even if it's multiple things on a single signatory document. So it could be for the hospital. And this is where I say you cannot, it's simply say you cannot manage what you cannot measure, and you cannot measure what you refuse to acknowledge. And that is being able to clearly articulate exactly what the problem is. The fire services, the police department, lack of resources, the clinics falling apart, the plantation of the clinics falling apart and dropping things. And so, and these are the things we have to do. I see someone ask and say pen and paper. Yes, we use pen and paper because that's where our leadership is. We may be digitized. Our leadership is not. And so, okay, thank you. And so you want to say, and I'm saying to you, this is why those foreigners, when they put in letter form, whether it be to the newspaper, or an email, and for those of them who, if they do nothing else, guess what they will do? You put pen to paper. If you put enough signatures underneath it, they will then count the signatures, and when they see sufficient signatures supporting the position, they will read it or get somebody to read it to them. And so what we have to do is our form of activism cannot be on one front, the marching. Because if they don't come outside, how do you thoroughly express the opinion that you're trying? Generally speaking, a march, I would tell you, the 10 largest march in the Bahamas, I've been involved with. Caller, you're on the air. Turn on your radio, please, for me, please. Turn on your radio.
See, Alan.
Yes.
You don't know the blueprint for Freeport already that has been printed out?
Where?
Entertainment. Gombe almost gone, and another entertainment coming downtown. That's all they gonna do. Entertainment, nothing else.
I thought Parliament was our entertainment.
Dr. Dowell, welcome. It's done. Welcome out of here. Be running with a posse of horse, full of posse running all the time, so you're not so. You think you care with any round memorial?
Well, but we have to. But this is where the power is still in us, because we gave them oblige. We literally gave them oblige, because nothing changed in Grand Bahama. We have the same 3 seats represented by the Free National Movement.
Ray Davis don't even come here like he used to no more.
No, but yes, because he's afraid now to face the music, face the public, because Chester and Ginger failed Grand Bahama. No, let's not pretend it, right?
Ginger's only doing what she's trying to stop the people from being bored by bringing in entertainment. That's all. The Brave Davis them have to be the one to be the master planner on everything and Freeport, and they don't care.
Well, but here's right. I'm saying to you, we know that their ambition now is greater than their ability, so it's incumbent upon us, because the power of the people is and shall always be greater than the people in power.
Well, listen now, it's so slow. Even PLP is hurting.
No,
they're feeling this slowness and all.
Right, but
trust me, I hear them crying.
No, I get encouraged by them also to simply say, put pressure on my government, put pressure on our government. I hear it almost on a daily basis. But what we need, though, is we need leadership to come out from amongst us, individually and collectively, and begin to express what we're going to do. Do you know that government's purpose is policy, is legislation, regulation, policies, processes, procedures, program, and protocols? Now the question is, what are they to do? They do these things to create the environment for us to thrive, access to capital, ease of doing business, all of these different things. So the problem is that we are still waiting for them to do it. Why don't we prepare the policy position we would like to see? Why don't we prepare the legislation we would like to see pass, the regulations we would like to see in place, the programs, the process, and the protocols? There is sufficient intelligence among Grand Bahamians to put these to paper, and then we line up and agitate as to what is it we want to happen. Let's go back to the economy of Grand Bahama, where we have this hospital. We know unequivocally we need probably well above 250 to 500 million in to build a hospital for Grand Bahama. You can't get to a population of 100,000, 150,000 with a clinic that you dressed up as a hospital. I don't care what you say. If there happens to be a major emergency, what will the RAN be able to accommodate? What will the new health campus be able to accommodate? These are things we have to say. We need a hospital to address these things, issues within our community. We have an increase in dialysis. We have an increase in high blood pressure and non-communicable diseases. We have all of these things. We have more emergencies and things happening. We need a healthcare preventive care system. But you can't keep crying about the building when there's no structure to address the things. How do we make the determination of our need? We have not done a need analysis of what's for Grand Bahama. When you say you want to have a $250 million airport that requires 25,000 bed and breakfast, requires 1 million or more tourists, stopover visitors, tourists, not counting the cruise ships. So when you start having this, you're talking about a population, a minimum of 100,000 people or more. You have to then have a conversation. What is the needs going to be? So this is when you hear Ginger make these announcements of entertainment and distraction. She reminds me of Caesar. You remember Caesar say, let's have some games and stuff to keep the people busy and distracted so they don't turn on us. This is what we're allowing them to do right now. So what we have to do is we have to, us as a community, begin to have the conversation. We have the Chamber of Commerce. They are reasonably expectation. In all honesty, the Chamber is a union for businesses. Not in the proper sense that the Chamber job is not in the proper sense to create competition for their union members. They are to create the environment conducive for their union members to grow and to thrive. We need an economic council. Like if you go to, let's use a very place to us, Miami, they have the Beacon Council and other councils that is separate from the Chamber. And essentially that is what Invest Grand Bahama and the Grand Bahama Port Authority is supposed to be doing. But they go to trade shows and I guess they go and have international entertainment because we have not seen the impact that they should have been having on the city of Freeport. And the question I always want to know, what exactly is Invest Grand Bahama representing Grand Bahama to be rather than a booklet of things of potential and with the purpose? They remind me of the church that I represent, Purpose and Potential Church. They might as well come in there and tell them, say, this is our purpose and this is the potential, but there's no impact, there's no feeling, there's nothing else that is happening. So we must have the conversation. How do we, in small groups, and then come back into bigger groups, and maybe form our own economic council for Grand Bahama, and let the Invest Grand Bahama and which technically represents Freeport, and West Grand Bahama and Invest East Grand Bahama come together with each looking at their own community to see where synergy can actually happen, to decide what is it we want. Because yes, we talk about the tourism industry, the hospitality industry is a multi-trillion-dollar industry. The what they call the creative economy, which includes the orange economy and the creator economy, the creator economy for you guys on social media and little small short movies and stuff. But the creative economy is the larger umbrella for the world, multi-trillion-dollar. So it captures what they call heritage and culture. Those are multi-billion-dollar opportunities. Caller, you're on the air.
Hey, a pleasant good morning, C. Allen.
Good morning, sir. How you doing?
This is an amazing conversation that we're having. I believe that we need to have a database with persons' names inside of it, right? Where when we do petitions, like persons are able to easily just, sign their signatures. We can send it out to them, and persons are able to just put their signatures digitally on it and send it in.
Well, Bo, guess what, Bo? You are absolutely correct, and I started on that this week. I have a list of 20 to 30,000 that I'm now trying to reconcile with telephone numbers and matching numbers to go with it. But I have most of the adults that is eligible, and to be honest with you, I started with the voters registration rule for the 5 constituencies.
Right.
And so I've entered that, and I'm gonna invite people beginning this Thursday and Friday, because I wanted to stay in context today. I didn't want to hash and beat down again on the Bahama Rock, because I do believe that all of us will stand up and say no to that, because the opportunity of that is 85 jobs compared to the 6,000 jobs paying minimum wage of $600 a week that can come from the exact same space they want to take away from us. So we're going to have that conversation, because we have time after the meeting tomorrow night to have that conversation. And this is kind of like a softener towards that. And you're absolutely correct.
And I also encourage, we need to have more meetings. We need the people to understand that when we come out, this is how we could extend beyond the radio. We need to have more meetings, gatherings, and you understand, so that we can address these issues. We can have our drafters who can draft, because not everybody may be able to articulate a letter. But once we have persons who are able to now support with their signature, just like voting, we don't crowd around a building and say, this is who we choose. We use our finger as our instrument. So we need to understand that our hands is an instrument, whether it be for writing, whether it be for imprinting our finger on a piece of paper, okay? But the marching is okay, but it's not as powerful as when we put it on paper, and it is a form of reference for record keeping. So, yeah, I encourage
right. It's going to be, but just rest assured, I'll reach out to you to talk to you more about it, because we are in the process. The organizations that rose out of this activism against Bahama Rock is not simply, because if you read the premise of it, it says that it's not about opposing. It's more about understanding what is called sustainable development. And
That's
so
right.
it isn't no to Bahama Rock. It's simply saying we want to proceed with a sustainable development. But that is not just for that. The preserving paradise, sustainable development, mean that we must build a country for us, by us. And so you're absolutely correct. And this is where this concept, I've done some research on it, where we may need an economic council, just like you say, where individuals individually and collectively who knows their community, small businesses that knows what is lacking, whether it be from capital to access to global commerce to whatever it is, where we input all of these into a database. And the use of intelligent design, AI and others, allows us to accumulate and feed from that and find out the best way of resolving that. As someone who's been involved with artificial intelligence for well over 30 years, not the 4 years that it's been around, I understand how that works. And so I will myself, and I have an identical twin brother that a lot of people often mistake us for. Nobody is mistaken, but they came up and paid me any money they owe him. But I know a couple of people who asked me for money he owed them.
Yes.
So,
well, we'll continue the conversation and be encouraged, man. This is a great initiative, all right?
Right. This is just the beginning. We are beginning, but, what you do is this. Understand that it requires resources.
Yes,
and I'm saying to you is that, and I want people to know when we say MLD Media or MLD Studios, that is a means of us expanding beyond this to give us the multiplexity of not just the audio of the radio, but also give us the video and the social media platforms. But it also, we're going to transition at the end of this 2 weeks. We're going to have a conversation by Friday, exactly how can we as a community come together and provide the resources to sustain a platform to get the information that we can. Beginning with the conversation.
We have to continue it, because I mean, in the Darren has a show, and we need to continue educational shows like this. The people need to be enlightened, but I don't want to hold you no longer.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks. Be blessed.
All right, Bo. Thanks. And so he's absolutely correct. And so, but see, it doesn't take a lot for us to sustain this, The economic council, which is separate from the chamber, a Grand Bahama Economic Council, and for many people could actually see that it was something that I'm revisiting it, because I had registered the domain name probably about 5 to 6 years ago, before the Dorian, and I just kind of let it lapse, because respectfully, I didn't let it lapse. I was building my arc and putting on, they say put on your safety vest and everything else, because after the 2029 Dorian and the business that my wife and I had just started from January of that year was disrupted. I went to build something. In fact, she encouraged me to say, build for me and your children what the Bahamians have not allowed you to build for them. And so that's when I went into building the funding platform, which they say money solves most, if not all, issues. And so, but we're not going to talk about that yet. But that has been moving hastily and a weakness in our legislation. But there's our uncle, Donald Trump, is facilitating the access to capital for millions of dollars for Bahamians. And for those of you could count past 7 zeros or past 9 zeros, you could get to the 1 billion. But we are going to have that conversation to continue. But we're going to look to you for your support in helping develop an expansion of the radio station so that we can reach further, where we can go to multiple studios and be able to fund, because it takes resources to build a communication channel. Just as Bo just said to us, we have to build a communication channel to get the information out so that I don't be the only person that speaks. But the one thing that Ginger speaks about is this creative economy, this orange economy, which is just basically the creative economy built for the Caribbean, where they put a focus on heritage and culture. And so you have to create an environment to give our young people access to the global marketplace. And what better for a means of expression? Because we have in a knowledge economy, expressing knowledge, expressing information, learning it, and reaching millions of people and sharing it is also a means of building economic viability. And so we have to take our young people who are spending time on the internet, showing their bodies and drinking and doing foolishness, to tell them they can use the same device in their hand. Come to MLD Studios and let us show you how you could flip the script and just for some of you to know, call us a political promotion if you want to. My understanding is that the Marco City Technology Hub is very, very close to being finished, and that gives you an opportunity for audio, video, meetings, learning, education, whatever it is in that multi-purpose building that is matter of probably weeks away, or even shorter than that, and actually opening to the public. But that just become one example of multiple technology hubs that we need. And in fact, the technology, innovation and technology and incubation, is called innovation. Incubation and acceleration hub is the recommendation by Preserving Paradise to build a multi-million, if not $1 billion, facility in the same space that they're thinking about carrying away by Bahama Rock, where you can have education facilities. Now, just think about it now. We talk about these hubs, and we talk about even for this $1 billion development on 50 acres of land. Yes, we're talking about 300 acres. But when you look at the fact that it's 500 acres, when you look at the total property, and close to 1,000 or 1,200 acres, when you combine the true access of properties that we are talking about, we're talking about 1,000 acres that runs all the way behind 8 Mile Rock until you reach Seagrave, that we can convert to a phenomenal environment that allows us to have energy costs reduced. It allows us to have so many different things that happen, but we get to have this full hub environment where we have business, AI, echo, all these different things on that same 300 acres. But that brings us to this whole concept. That's all part of the Grand Bahama plan. And so when we start talking about how do we build Grand Bahama if we cannot have a conversation, I can't tell you the amount of family grief that experience to the RAN. The RAN isn't even functioning today. I want somebody to call right now from the RAN, the administrative, and tell me that the RAN is functioning even at 50% of its capacity. 50%. In having the tools that is needed, having the supplies that is needed, having the medicine that is needed, having the staff that is needed, having the financial resource that is needed. I guarantee you the RAN does not function except in name, in the way it should. That's it. The only thing works on the RAN is to paint it on name. If they put it lights on it, it'll probably go off. And I'm saying to you, that's not how you build a city. For investors who wants to come here, people who want to live here as second homes or whatever, they look at the medical facilities. If something was to happen to me, do I die waiting for relief? Or is the facilities there to provide me what is necessary to preserve my life? We cannot say yes to that question. We can't even tell them that rest assured we could keep you alive for a 1-hour flight to come from Miami to Grand Bahama to pick you up. They'll meet you dead because we don't have the facilities to accommodate the variations of accidents and things that should happen. Failure of governance, failure of government, failure of the Grand Bahama Port Authority. Let's not dress it up. If they are in charge, if they have the steering wheel and we keep hitting into walls, not one wall, it's like we back up and hit something and back up again and hit something else and back up again and hit something else. It's like every day we're looking for something to hit in a what we call a chaos of governance. We do not have affordable housing. We do not have affordable energy. Our cost of living is through the roof. These are things that respond to the economy of scale to reduce the cost of living. We don't have a strategy for housing. Every single year, by the international standard, the Bahamas need 4,000 homes to be built. The government of the Bahamas needs to build 1,500 homes, rounded to 2,000 homes for what is already not being built. You hear government every day, we're knocking down shanty towns, 70 homes, 200 homes, whatever. And all they're doing is relocating the garbage of housing from one location to the other, because those individuals didn't move into their car. They went and decided to build another shanty town, build something else, almost instantaneously. And it's all tied into one problem we have, cascade into another. Straight to immigration, straight to identification, who's in our country, failure in our schools, failure in our hospitals. It's like, I tell you, please, 688-1027. If you are an avid, rabid supporter of the government, I know you post all day, you call other shows, call this one and tell us what works. Tell us what is progress. Just, you know what you do? Don't forget what's work. How about calling and telling us the progress that's being made? Caller, you on the air.
DJ, how are you?
I'm all right, sir.
You know, I appreciate the conversations that you've had over the past week and some. And there's one thing, you know, I can appreciate everybody that are components for progress. I think we should all be components of progress. That's not owned by a particular party or a particular group of people. Progress is what we all get together and make happen in our country. But one thing that I think desperately needs to happen, and it needs to be embraced by every single Bahamian, not even just the Grand Bahamians, but every single Bahamian. We need to reimagine what Grand Bahama is. You know, we you know, some people want to go back to what it was. Some people want to do something totally different. You have the cruise ports that are making islands within the island, and I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening, but we're not being creative about what Grand Bahama could actually be. Me personally, I believe Grand Bahama has the potential to grow faster than any island in the Bahamas. I believe we have the potential to do things that even that different parts of the world have never seen. But we have to reimagine that. We can't just stick our head in the sand and say, okay, oh yeah, this is what we're going to do. Because we're not looking at all of the things that are available ahead of us. You know, I appreciate the conversation about Bahama Rock, because, yeah, why would you use 84 people? We're not devaluing them now, but why would you use 84 people as the backdrop to tear up so many acres of land when at the end of the day, there's so many other people that could benefit from it, including the 84?
Yes.
So you know, if the persons that are calling in and the persons that are listening are actually paying attention, I think what we're getting is a breath of fresh air that's saying to us, hey,
Let's dare to do something different. If there's one island in the Bahamas where people could take a chance and do something different, is Grand Bahama. We've been on the line for over 20 years.
Right, but can I say something to you, right?
Sure.
This is not me. And there's a standard for digitization that happened pre-2000 that rated the Bahamas as the most digitally prepared country in the world of 200 countries.
You and I talked about that before.
But here's what it says, though. It says that if Grand Bahama was to be treated as a country, it would come in as number 2. So you have the number 1 and number 2 country in the world for preparedness for the 21st century that has been unutilized and underutilized for it. And I'm simply saying is that we're now in a position, the beginning of the first year of the second quarter of the 21st century, that advancement in the last 25 years from the technology of social media, smartphones, AI, and technology now gives us access to the information that we had to manually go and look for is now being pushed to us. So it's only up for us to accept it.
Let's point this out too, CJ. All of the companies that have been that we've been patronizing all around the world, the Amazons, the Microsofts, and all of those. The reason those companies are so successful is because they're able to use the analytics of what they do and what we do on a daily basis to be able to continually sell to us.
Yes.
Okay? They use that information. They don't guess. They don't think that we all might or maybe. It's all done strategically. And as Bahamians, we need to begin to adopt that mindset. Okay? We can all be against the projects that are supposed to be happening, the cruise ports and the rest of this. Me coming from the tourism industry, I don't see where it leads us back to the kind of benefits that it had for the island on the whole. But at the same time, I will say this, and I want to say this so that other business owners can hear this. If you're a restaurant or you're a bar and what's not, and at the end of the day, you know that there are 40, 50,000 people coming to the island a month, they're on these particular ports. What have you done with your business to make it a bucket list item? If you heard Grand Bahama, you would have heard about my business. What have you done to make your business a bucket list item so that when those people come to the ports, I have to get there. No matter what it is, I have to get to that particular place. I have to try this particular thing. This is the way we got to start thinking if we want to start benefiting from everything that's happening.
But
I don't want a job.
But you're absolutely correct because the data is there. So I told even a consultant with small businesses I spoke to a few days ago. I said, if you have a small food store and you don't know the days your customers, what they're buying and how they're buying it and everything else. I see that Solomon, a lot of people don't understand that Solomon's and Costco and others have began this. When they come into this store, you should know when they buy tomatoes, what they buy with it, the days they buy tomatoes, the day they buy, all of those different things is right there. You already have the data. You just have to begin to utilize it. We have access to the same data. They don't give us their data, but from externally, we have access to the same data that the cruise ships have. We have access to the same data that everything have because they have a smaller demographics we have. The Bahamas portal is listed among the most visible portal in the world today. But here's what I describe Bahamas.com as. You come to Bahamas.com, to this beautiful place that tells you all of the wonderful choices you have to make. And then when you say, ooh, I want to do that, it says to you, go find someplace to get it. They don't transfer and transition into doing. So you come and see everything about it. Wonderful. And then now you have to leave this portal. It's not a capture portal. And go and look to see. And you're absolutely correct. These experiences we have in this hospitality, I think this is the quickest way for Grand Bahama to recover. The construction industry has just been rated as the #1 industry again in the Bahamas. But notice that we're not building homes. Notice that we're not building bed and breakfast. What they're talking about is the value of these $1 million homes that is being built away from the population of the Bahamas, behind gated communities on Keys and other different places. And so, but we have an opportunity because of that impetus, because of the world is now saying money is flowing into the Bahamas. It allows us to formulate our smaller personal economies to benefit from the branding, the resurgence of the brand called the Bahamas, so it can be built for us instead of without us.
Let me say one thing before you go, TJ. I want to challenge every single Grand Bahamian, and when we say Grand Bahamian, I want us to take pride in the Grand Bahama, because we have that potential to be the grandest island in the Bahamas. But I want to say to everybody that's listening, Grand Bahama is full of problems. Some of the most successful people in the world have become successful simply by solving them. If you decide that there's a problem that synergizes with what you're capable of, and you're able to fix it, fix the problem. Don't wait for them. Don't wait for somebody else. At the end of the day, that's your niche. And we need to start grabbing these things. We need to stop looking and waiting for somebody else to show up and do something, and do it ourselves. How do you own something when you have no participation?
And you're absolutely correct. And thank you so much. Many of us are aware of the issues facing our community. Fixing these problems. You know, you remember we said this, right? 1,000 people paying you $1,000, even if it's not immediately over 1 or 2 years, gives you $1 million. And so what it is a problem is nothing more than a solution that is improperly or never being applied. And so the question becomes is, do you have it within you to solve the problem? If we have a housing problem, you don't have to be a contractor to solve the housing problem, just like you don't need to be a contractor to build your home. So what you have to do is look at the problem and say, how can I solve a problem? And people that have experiencing these problems will come to you and pay you for those solutions, no matter how small it is, even a beauty supply store, and you can build. And so the key is what is called strategic innovation. Innovation is not copying what somebody else do. Innovation is changing and refining or bringing about something new. And so this concept we have about innovation, we must understand what it is. And this thing, we like to use the word that I'm an entrepreneur. Every time you hear somebody, I'm an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is not somebody who starts a business that already exists. An entrepreneur is a person who disrupts the model of businesses that exist. So if you're not disrupting a business model, if you're not building a new business model, please stop saying you're an entrepreneur. Say you're a business person. And so when we begin to use things in its proper context, then we can go to about building what it is. And so we want you to know that the Riddim Station is the place for you to lock in. Even after this Friday, we may have to give you a time, another hour, some other time, for you to lock in, because this is where it begins, the Superstation of Grand Bahama and the wider Bahamas. I thank you so much for joining me. It is what it is until tomorrow morning. Thank you so much. This is C. Allen Johnson signing off for Darren Cooper Live. It is what it is. Until tomorrow, 9 a.m. Same time, same place. Share the video. Share the conversation. If you're listening by radio, tell them tune in 8:59. So when we start at 9, you'll be there locked in. Thank you so much.
On many things that we can't control. It makes us lose our bearings, forget the goal. We can't change the weather.